This is day 482 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you like to sponsor or come and share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It would be greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Lamed Siman Shin Ches Lamed Zayin to Mem Beis. Lamed Zayin. Because something which is broken might lose its shame kli. Safa Arukh, a long bench. Shenishmat Echad Miragla Mil Shabbos, who one of its legs was fell off on Shabbos or somehow. I feel Kram Shabbos, before Shabbos. So then when both legs fell off, also Tatlo Anicho Sapso Achri. Now I have to carry it, even put it on another bench and to sit upon it. Like in Yoshua Kach Pam Achas Kram Shabbos, unless you sat on once before Shabbos in that manner, without putting back the leg. She'oz, then Ein Lachu Shem Yimalech Lachzir Tokab Shabbos. Then we're not concerned. They might come back to push it in again on Shabbos. But if you didn't sit that way before Shabbos began, it's not doesn't work, obviously. Even though for muktzah, thought normally works. Moshi's bar, as we shall see, in terms of palm fronds. Here we're concerned they might decide to fix the bench and put back the legs. And as long as he hasn't used it to sit without the legs, we're afraid of that. To put the leg back on Shabbos, also it's forbidden. I'm sorry. I feel brief here. It's forbidden even if you do it lightly, because lest you come to do it heavily. With force. Unless it always is lightly intact. Then it's principle to put it back. As we clarify later on. All this is if it fell off. But if it broke one leg, or two legs, so that a little bit of the leg remains inside its proper hole inside the bench. In which case you can't put the leg back, obviously. They take the bench and put it on another bench and sit on it. I feel Shabbos, if you did not sit on it before Shabbos, because you're not concerned, you might put back the leg. Because since one end is still stuck in the hole, I feel you won't be able to do it. I feel Shabbos cane, and even Shabbos you can do this, sit on the bench. Because it has lost its status as a keli, mutter b'til to allowed to move it. Also, if it's many days that the leg has become lost. But he needs to make a leg. He has to make another leg. In that case, even if it fell off, you'll have to permit this. Because we're not afraid you're going to fabricate a leg and put it on Shabbos. Sharatzia is not sure if the status of a bench is the same as the stove we spoke about before, that when there aren't two legs, it no longer has the status of kli, or perhaps because you couldn't actually lean it on another bench, it's still considered to be roy l'melacha. Okay, lamed ches. Isa Umar. It says about the levanim shnisham binyan, bricks which are left over from building site, will turn until they're allowed to move them. Because the ones that are left over are, by definition, by default, I should say, for sitting on. And therefore they are like vessels. It's not normal to use over the bricks for another construction site. The Mishnah Berurah says that it seems that from this halacha, you don't even require thought from Erev Shabbos to designate the bricks to sit, but some people are machmir that you should require such thought. It doesn't seem like the Arukh HaShulchan requires such thought. Back to the Mishnah, the Arukh HaShulchan, also nevertheless, if you gather them and put them on each other, then I guess in a way which it's clear it's not for a chair, then you're setting them aside for a building, but certain betilta you're not allowed to move them. They don't have the status of kalim. Yearly, it seems to me that was in their time when they used to sit on bricks. But today, the Arukh HaShulchan suggests they are also all together. We don't sit on bricks today. And even the remaining bricks from the first construction, they're going to use for a second construction. Well, let's see, as Tanurim, maybe to make ovens, Shein Kivanya, which are like a building. You have stone, a brick oven. I think it's supposed to be good for pizza. Seems the opposite from that which it says Sulam Shel Aliyah Shugado, the chair to the ladder to a second floor which is large, and it's made in order to plaster the roof. Also, the top you're not allowed to move it. But out of a dovkat, you're now to incline it from place to place, but not to carry it from dovkat to dovkat. So you shouldn't do it like as a weekday, and that way be reminded not to catch birds which he's not allowed to catch. We don't got this thing about a dovecot ladder. We don't have dovecot ladders. And also this ladder kept in the second floor, which now has to carry. Even though it's only a vessel like any other vessel. True, it's called Klisha Machtel Isser, but let's say even, I should say, it's called Klisha Machtel Isser. Why can't you move it? You can move it for its use or for its place. The Mishnah Berurah emphasizes perhaps the question by saying that according to the Prima Guardian of the Rambam, according to the Rambam, you're not allowed to move this ladder. When it says you have to say the Kavan Shu also since it's made to plaster the roof, have a kabina atzmo. It's like part of the structure. Big Kiddush, like the doors of a house. He says so our ladders which are not made in order to repair the roof. Having can they are came with the tackle so come on. You can carry them around for their goof on the come on. He says he seems that is the minhag. So evidently, just like what he tried to prove is that bricks which remain and we still are going to use for the other construction are considered to be part of the new construction, even though construction doesn't exist, so to speak. And here too, the latter for the Latiach Sagak, even though it could be used for other purposes, because it's made specifically for that purpose, therefore it's going to be muktzah on Shabbos. I don't see the connection as being a strong one, but I guess there's a connection. Lamates. Kotzamur, which is Rav, you have a thorn, which is lying, which is a rabbin. You're concerned that maybe people get hurt by it. You can move it by carrying less than 4 amos. But actually, it's not going to get to the side of the street. By the any Hudim, but if you have a non-Jew you can bring it into the courtyard. Nevertheless, Mokum has the rabbi in place where the masses can get hurt. Local also didn't make a decree. Now, Kotsu Carmelis, if the thorn is in a Carmelis, and like in our street, you carry it normally. I feel even more than 4 amos in one. After taking it up once, the Mokum has a rabbin because it's a place where potentially people can be hurt. Lo goes to a Shustar Rabbanan. They did not uphold the Issa Rabbanan. The made him because of Shayat Barim, but I can't necessarily extrapolate from thorns to other things. Although I think there's certain things you can extrapolate from, like for broken glass, etc. The Mishnah Berurah says the Mokum seems to say that. Specifically, if the thorn was not there for Erev Shabbos, because if it was there for Erev Shabbos, you should remove it on Erev Shabbos, which is very difficult, because if it's sakona, it's a sakona, regardless. Your rabbi, in fact, argues when everyone holds that even if it was there Erev Shabbos, you can take it away on Shabbos, which seems to make much more sense. The Rivash brings down Mokum says that if the thorn was large, you're not allowed to take it, because people can see it, it's obvious, and they'll be careful not to get hurt by it. Again, I doubt that that's the... That should be the halacha l'maisa if there's really any form of danger whatsoever. And the Sefer Shulchan Atzei Shitim says Tilum Atzad is mutar even in a large thorn. Okay, back to the Arukh HaShulchan. Mem b'davar shemuktzah shel tishtamish b'Shabbos. Something which is muktzah which you want to use in Shabbos. bedover mutter for a permitted purpose. Like stones and sticks for sitting down. Yesh Gemara is a tikkun, so says the argument Gemara, how much of a preparation and time do you require? Chadamar once says dafka ma'isa before mamash. You have to do some activity with these things. Come on, for 8 such such as with the branches of wood, which are called charayos, like you want to prepare them for sitting. Tie back the branches, which would inhibit your sitting there from before Shabbos. Another one said, all I have to do is designate them mentally. Show me think before Shabbos begins, to sit on them the next day. Somebody says also this is not required. When he sat on them before Shabbos begins, it would add a ma'isa to the branches or to the stones, and without a specific thought. The fact you just thought there was enough. Paska Rif by Ramam Perachafei didn't chavdal. The chavav the dai b'shiva, it's enough indeed just to sit down. Chen pasak rasha zakim tejsham b'koshkem machshav hani, and that's the case kavachomer, that thought designation works. But that's Ramban. Only Ramban holds yeshiva ati machshav, that sitting down is better than thought. Machshav lomai, that thought doesn't work. But that's the metam b'tejsham to be in a dafka ma'isa. But that means you specifically have to do a ma'isa. Avalo kain das rover. The poskim disagrees with Rabbeinu Tam. It's enough to just sit down a little bit before Shabbos begins. That's what the Torah and Shulchan Aruch write. That these palm fronds. This is our branch which cut off more to burn. They're now to move them. They are something to sit on. You can use, I guess, as a mat. If you sat on them before Shabbos began, Shabbos allowed to sit them also on Shabbos. Certainly you thought about them from before Shabbos began to sit on them, even you had in mind just to sit on them on a weekday. Or you had in mind to, or you tied them on to sit on them, which you did a ma'isa, certainly all this is good enough. Which is where when it says the Rav brings up somebody showing the whole machshava doesn't work unless you specifically thought to sit upon them on Shabbos. It's a very difficult thing to say. It becomes a seat no matter when you think that you're going to sit on it. When you guys are sitting, whether on a weekday or on Shabbos. The brackets here says Arukh HaShulchan says it brings down the 8s of time before the 8s of thinking, and certainly if you tied them or thought about them, don't say the Arukh HaShulchan, don't make anything of the order. The language of the Torah is more precise. Rambam leaves us with a tzarach here, so he says, a row of stones. They thought about them before Shabbos began. If you measure them, you'll have to sit upon them the next day. If not, also. If you have palm fronds that you cut off in order to use as wood, and then Erev Shabbos decided to sit on them, you're allowed to move them on Shabbos. It's not to be sat upon them from before Shabbos began. Allowed to move them akal shana. Became the charayos pasuk kachal place in the design machshava, since by the palm fronds he said it's not a thought. Or even sitting before Shabbos begins. Why by the row of bricks? Pasuk the whole pasuk should tzricha machshava ma'isa. That he said both thought and deed. Tirat Magid Mishnah. The Magid Mishnah answers the charayos mishum the ikar the kaimel yeshiva. Because the kaimel eitzim. Since anyway some of them are made for sitting and some of them are made for wood. So these are the only answer because his initial thought was to define them as for wood. But maybe it's kind of off for wood. So it's enough for having a thought to sit, which eliminates the first thought. But this row of bricks nobody sits on. A piece of kosher baby says around the spaces. A row of stones. Even though he thought upon them, before Shabbos began. Also, l'shev aleim, you're not allowed to sit upon them. And l'kelim dum, unless you arrange them, be'rusid room, ad kan l'shayna, for the purpose of sitting. If he's eitim shalom tzarich ma'isa, with our wood we need a ma'isa as well. B'shura says that for language of chaber it's mashma that which you arrange them before evening to sit upon them is a complete ma'isa, and you're allowed to carry them the next day, even by themselves, not with and not sandwiched together with something else. But Avraham holds like Rashi that the arrangement of the bricks does not work only to the extent that only the extent you don't have to touch them the next day. I guess you just sit on them. For some reason, the arrangement does not make it effectively permittedly does not affect a permit to sit on them, to move the next day, just to sit on them. It's a chiddush. Membase. But this is very astonishing. The Vach is a negative does a refarving a person. Besides the fact that it's against the rhythm in the place came, Echav Shalom Marke, how can you say need a Maisa and Machshava? The Inke Loma Sich Oben Nibach Machshava La Maisa. Okay. Maybe you need a Maisa, why else a Machshava? Besides that, by the palm fronds, he said it's enough to sit. He mentioned that by the raw bricks altogether. Rambam has a totally different meaning. Even by raw bricks, it's enough to sit down a little bit before Shabbos begins. Move on, but it's understandable. It's got to be something which is suitable to sitting. The main if it's not suitable to sit, what good does it do? The fact that you sat, and even the thought, the designation as a seat, ain't going to do any good. Kamuvan is well understood. If they're in a large pile, they're not suited for sitting. You have to send them up away, which you can sit on them. That's what it says. It doesn't. It's not just that sitting on them doesn't work. Even thought doesn't work. The Maisa is necessary in order to make them suitable to sit on. We made a camel decision, but once you arrange them to sit on, you don't need anything else. Piece of Ram Hakamar. According to this, the Ram is saying as follows: the B'Davar Sheina Roy. Saying which is not suitable for the purpose of which he wants to use it. You have to do something in order to make it suitable. Avodavar Roy was saying suitable, like the palm fronds, Mani Machshava. For that, even thought is enough. But even sitting from before Shabbos begins. Piece of Mashkas, Rabbeinu Ramah, that's because Ramah writes, some people will say that the halacha of the stones is like the palm fronds, and that's the primary halacha, and quote from the Ramah. Mishbor brings down the Magen Avraham, Taina's on the Ramah, and holds that a stone is more severe than the palm. Like you saw in Chabez, that the stone requires a permanent designation. Okay, but Arukh is not going that far. So he says, rather, the halacha is the same. The din of Avani the Chayes Chen Likar Kansham B'Zel Das Ribar Mordechai. The just like the Enkam Machlekes Kaz, no Machlekes. Dim Rak Ruim L'Shiva, if it's suitable for sitting, Gam Rambam Modeh. Shem Ruim if they're not suitable for sitting. But Kriyach Sasim Ruim, we got to make them suitable, obviously. Mele the Zuhi Ma'aser Shalem, so this is their Ma'aser. They told over Acher, you don't need anything else. Well, the Daiti He Mishnah Fresh Perkol Kalim, it's explicit Mishnah. Hayavet Ship Kruya, the stone which is a tool to draw water. In Malin Bav Enofels, if you can fill up water in the tool and the stone doesn't fall out, Malin Bav, you can fill up the water in that vessel. Vim Lav, it falls out, and Malin Bav, we can't use that vessel. There's Rashi, Glas Chalula, this vessel is a hollow gourd. The Vashalim Bamayim, which you put water. And we talk Shikal because it's light, Safa, it floats. The nosa, or the water, I guess, floats. Nosa ba'em la'achbila, they put in oil in order to weigh it down. Ayin sham. The question, l'man this related to machshav mo'eles, so typical opinion holds. Machshav is effective. Hakam v'adei chishil malos ba. He certainly had in mind to fill it up. That's why he designated for that. the Vilama Emalim Ba Shan Kosher. That's the case. Why can we use it even if it's not tied on? If I mishum the im he nofeles, that's because if if it falls, mimel then shiva wouldn't be useful for drawing water. Vilama machshava, and then the machshava would be ineffective. That's they have to do something to it. That should be suitable for drawing the water.